Buffalo is going to win it, folks.
The Bills make me run. Kick your heels up and shout.
Let's see why the Buffalo Bills are en route to the playoffs.
Come on now, the Bills are making it happen now. Stand up now, come on and shout.
Buffalo Bills go undefeated. And we're going to the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Now, baby, come on, come on.
No one
Come on
circles the
and
wagon
shout.
like the Buffalo Bills.
Okay, we are live, and we are back. Welcome to another episode of the Overdue Bills podcast, and we're excited today. We're definitely excited today. We have an amazing game coming up this Sunday, and we told you at the beginning of the season, we promised you that every week we'll have a guest from the opposite team, and we delivered again this week. But before I introduce our guest, I have to introduce my guy, our guy, Mills. You know what I mean, aka I think he didn't take all of our merch money. We getting some merch now. So shout out to Mills. Mills, what's up? How you doing?
What's going on, man? I'm doing good, man. Excited to talk. Some Buffalo Bills football again, man. Big week, like always. So, yeah, glad to be here.
Absolutely, definitely excited. And we have our guest, William McFadden. Well, could you just let the people know, where you come from, where they can find you, and kind of just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, no problem. First, thank you guys for having me on. I'm excited to join, talk about this week's matchup. So I not born, but definitely raised in Atlanta. Just 20 minutes maybe north of downtown Atlanta. So always grew up rooting for the Braves, Falcons, Hawks, Thrashers once upon a time.
Wow.
Now Atlanta United, I guess they kind of took the place of the Thrashers, but I went to the University of Georgia, go Dogs, big game tomorrow. And then I have spent the last 4 years covering the Falcons for AtlantaFalcons.com. So I worked for the team. Literally my office was inside of the team's training facilities. Wow. So walked down the hallway, went to the bathroom, saw Dan Quinn or Thomas Mitchoff or whoever. So, kind of as close a proximity, I guess, as a reporter could get. And now I write for the Falcoholic, and I host the Believe in Falcons podcast with former Falcons fullback Ovi Mihaly, who is a former All-Pro, a former Baltimore Raven as well, played with Ray Lewis at Reed, all that stuff. So he has awesome insight, and you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts, and that is BLEAV, but Believe in Falcons. So part of the Believe Podcast Network.
Absolutely. Shout out to our guy, Will. Definitely appreciate you coming on the show. And before we kind of get into the nitty gritty of the show, Mills, can you please let the people know who is our presenting sponsor?
Sure, yeah. This episode is brought to you by none other than Buffalo Wing Kings. Being from Buffalo, there's two things the guys here on the pod know, and that's Bills football and wings. Our first choice and the best choice is Buffalo Wing Kings. At Wing Kings is Wings 101. With over 101 flavors of wings and a beloved Wing of the Month special, Buffalo Wing Kings is sure to school any other wing place around. Opening a new location in the University District on Main Street, available for Bills games, parties, or everyday lunch. Stop by the Elmwood Village location at 484 Elmwood Avenue, or give them a call at 716-248-1427 and find out why they say, and we know, they have the best wings in town, hands down. And if you give them the name of the Overdue Bills podcast and say that we sent you, they'll give you 10% off your order.
Absolutely. Shout out to Buffalo Wing Kings. Everybody knows, our guy Matt is not on the show today. He had to work. And every time somebody else does our read, it's just kind of, it sounds real funny. But shout out to Mills. Mills, I appreciate that. Shout out to Buffalo Wing Kings. Thank them for being our sponsor. Let me do this real quickly. A little bit of housekeeping. Please letting everybody know to go to the website, overduebillspod.com. overduebillspod.com. That's where you can get all of, the Overdue Bills content. You can, go to the merch store and shop there. Pretty much we have our articles there with our editor-in-chief, Mike Daniels. Shout out to him. And, you know what I mean? So just please go there, overduebillspod.com. And we thank all of you. Please like, share, rate, and review, all those amazing things. All right, so let's get into the show. Quick question of the day. This is a little bit of trivia. It's a little bit of trivia. Let's see if these guys can get it. Oh, wow. Our guest, I think maybe he was having some connectivity issues, just a little bit. I'm sure he's going to pop back on. But let's do this. Let's still go with our quick question of the day. And I'm going to ask Mills this. Mills, do you know the last time the Buffalo Bills played the Atlanta Falcons?
2017.
Can you tell me the game?
The Bills won.
Okay.
That was the only game that the Bills won in the last 20 years.
Wow. All right. And can you give me the last time the Bills hosted the Atlanta Falcons?
The last time the Bills hosted Atlanta Falcons is December 1st, 2013. It's crazy because I'm kind of learning your scenario with your questions a little bit, Preach. You might have to change them up a little bit. So I did a little research expecting these questions from you. So
shout out to our guest. He came back. She said a little technical difficulties. But no, it's fine. That's fine. I asked the question, and since you didn't hear it, that's wonderful. Cause
sorry guys, it's like massive storms down here all day long, so internet's been a little spotty.
Oh, I
apologize. Bear with me.
It's okay. We definitely appreciate you. So Ante, he got the trivia question right.
All right.
So I'm gonna ask you. You didn't hear it. All right.
I didn't.
So 2 questions. The last time the Bills and the Falcons played.
20. God, was that 2017.
Got it. You got it.
Yeah. I was at that game. I couldn't remember because they played the Bills and the Dolphins back-to-back at home, and they lost both of those games. And I think it was the Bills game where there was a bull crap call. It was a fumble. It was a ruled fumble on a Matt Ryan strip sack.
Yeah.
And it would definitely look like a forward pass to me, but that kind of swung the game. So yeah, 2017.
Shout out Buffalo Bills on that win. All right, and this is the other question I asked. The last time the Bills hosted the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this is kind of a trick question.
Okay, hosted. So trick question. So I mean, we're ruling out like preseason games, right?
Yes. It wasn't a preseason game, but technically it wasn't in Buffalo. It wasn't in the Buffalo Bills Stadium.
Okay. Huh.
But it was a home game though.
Oh man, I distinctly remember like a Lawyer Malloy game in like 2008 or something that I think was back in the day, right before he came to play for the Falcons. But it probably wasn't that. This one's got me. I'm stumped. Which one is it? What is it?
It was. I got this right. It was in 2013 in Toronto, Canada. It was in Toronto, Canada. Interestingly enough, so it wasn't necessarily. I mean, it was a home game, but it wasn't, at our home stadium. But
I mean, I guess I should have known that every 4 years, right?
Right. I guess no, it's funny. Yeah, like when I kind of had looked it up, I was like, oh, that's interesting, right? Like that's just how the league works. But
yeah,
interestingly enough, I just wanted to throw that out there. And I had another question for you, William. All right, I did want to ask about Calvin Ridley, because there's been a lot of talk, around Calvin Ridley. One of us may or may not have had Calvin Ridley on our fantasy team, and it kind of railroaded our season. I understand him; he's dealing with a lot, so I don't want to make light of the situation. But I guess we do want to know what's kind of going on, or what's the talk in Atlanta about Calvin Ridley?
Quite frankly, there isn't any.
Wow.
And I think that's I actually think that's a great sign. I kind of think that I've been very surprised at the kind of the silence when you've got a playoff team or a team kind of fighting for their playoff lives, I guess. Like certainly probably not a team. I think that ends this Sunday. Spoiler alert for everybody. But you've got a team that is certainly overperforming expectations and still in the playoff mix without arguably their best offensive weapon.
Right.
Now Cordial Patterson has become that this season, but Calvin Ridley was one of the top 10 receivers in the NFL last season. I mean, this isn't somebody who is kind of like hadn't proven it yet. He just had done it. He had broken out, and this was supposed to be kind of his ascendance into their number one spot. And when he was on the field, the Falcons were ready to use him in that way. I mean, he was getting targets. Matt Ryan clearly looked like he trusted him over most people kind of out on the field. And once he made the call, he sat out. I've talked to people around the team, and everybody has said, look, like what Calvin said, what he put out on social media, it's what he's relayed to the team. That's everything everybody knows. I know Arthur Smith, when he has been asked, pretty much every week, he got an update. He said, if we have an update, we'll let you know. Right now, we're respecting Calvin's wishes.
Right.
And that's pretty much it. And nobody's been harping on it. Nobody's been kind of blaming any of these losses on, well, if we had Calvin Ridley out there. Everybody's been pretty much respectful of, hey, he's not a part of the team, so he's not a part of kind of this season, and he's not a part of how we evaluate the team. Everybody's been really respectful, him his distance, and I actually think that it's kind of like shockingly refreshing. And I wish we talked about that a little bit more, of the times when teams do the right thing instead of kind of the times when teams maybe do the wrong thing.
Right. No. It's definitely impressive. Like when I look at it, because I mean, fantasy aside, obviously, guy is dealing with some issues, but you're right. I haven't heard really anything about it, right? Even on our end. I mean, and like as far as a national pundit. So I was just curious to see like the local media, because sometimes obviously there's a heightened sense of awareness of what's going on and things of that nature. But just to see like, let the guy deal with what he has to deal with. If he wants to come back or whatever that is, then, the door is open. So we definitely appreciate that. Definitely appreciate you going into detail on that. I thought that was very, very interesting. But let's kind of get to the players that are playing, or maybe the players that aren't playing. And I wanted to go to William first because, it's a lot of COVID things going on, a lot of, and maybe some people on the injury report. I haven't had a chance to necessarily like look at, the practice list today for the Atlanta Falcons. But Will, can you please let us know, are there anybody that's kind of in jeopardy of playing Sunday that sort of means, a lot to the team, or that's just, a starter or somebody that we may not, be familiar with?
Yeah, I mean, so you mentioned the COVID stuff, and certainly that's been a factor, I think, more for the Falcons this week than it has at any point in the season. Wow. They were the first team to come out in the NFL and say, hey, we're 100% vaccinated. And the team site today, as they put their 13th member on the reserve COVID list, stated that they were still at 100% vaccination rate. So, we have to kind of take that at face value. What that means is they've got a chance to test out, some of those 13 players, but among that list are like Hayden Hurst, Richie Grant, you've got Marlon Davidson, Tyler Davison, two of their interior defensive linemen. So you've got Tajay Sharp, one of their receivers. So we saw them call up Marvin Hall last week. Obviously a former Falcon there, former Bear. He's had some good plays for them over familiarity with Matt Ryan. So he could be a factor if we're kind of talking about potential X factors for Sunday's game. Marvin Hall, interesting guy to kind of watch as like the fourth receiver on this offense. Kind of like an Isaiah McKenzie, like the way that they used him last week, the Bills. I don't expect him to go over 100 yards. That's not what I'm saying, but just kind of a similar type of player. As far as injuries are concerned, yeah, Cordial Patterson didn't practice today. Fabian Moreau didn't practice today. But the Patterson one was rest. Nothing to be worried about there. The Fabian Moreau one, ribs, second day in this practice. He hasn't missed any game time to my knowledge. I can't remember off the top of my head if he was knocked out of last week's game because of this injury. So by and large, it's not so much an injury or a banged up kind of Falcons team that you're getting. It's more people just aren't available because they're on the COVID list. That being said, none of the names I listed are like A1 names. Right. So like you're going to get a Falcons team that's not missing any really crucial pieces. Like Russell Gage is going to be out there. Jake Matthews is going to be out there. Kyle Pitts, Grady Jarrett, Deion Jones, all of these guys that Bills fans probably have heard of before. They're going to be out there. They're going to be playing. But some of this depth, if it becomes a kind of like dirty, like grinded out, gritty game, especially in the cold weather, it looks like we're expecting on Sunday, and injuries start to creep up, that's where the Falcons are in really big trouble, because they have almost no depth when they're in good shape, and they are not in good shape right now depth wise.
Interesting. Funny you say, as it relates to the Buffalo Bills, we pretty much have kind of everybody. Yeah, we're back in Mills. You want to talk about it?
We back, man. I think it's the first time they said our offensive line play together in about probably like 12 weeks. So we back full force. I think we got 3 players that didn't practice today. Vernon Butler, who cares? Emmanuel Sanders. They say they just rested him. And I think Jaquan Johnson, who cares?
No.
So we back.
Shout out to Jaquan.
Healthy?
Wait. Shout out to Shaquan Johnson. We definitely interviewed him last year. He's an integral part of the team, not a who cares. So shout out to him.
Listen, we back. We ready to go on this run like Tampa Bay did last year. Go on this run, get to the Super Bowl, and get this ring to the town, man.
Okay. Before we do that, let's get to this game. And just to piggyback on that, we did activate Cole Beasley, Gabe Davis, thank God. Feliciano and Epineza, AJ, our defensive end. So we are.
And Star supposed to play too.
And Star is back, so which is good. Even though Star hasn't necessarily been playing great, but I guess let's get to that. Let's get some matchup things, because I do want to ask Mills. I do want you to go first and kind of see how we're going to attack this team. Right, Star is back. Jordan Phillips is playing better. I guess one of the low points in our defense has been run stopping. And we do know, albeit Cordial Patterson, he's having a breakout year, right? It just seems like, and I guess I'm going to ask Will in a second, but like, so Mills, how do you feel about that as far as our defense dealing with Cordial Patterson tomorrow? Or you think we're up for the task?
I think we all for it, man. At the end of the day, we have to blitz, in my opinion. We blitz. They don't have any really weapons on the outside. Blitz, make Matt Ryan throw the ball. He has like 11 interceptions on the year. He's not mobile at all. So we can get some pressure on him and force him to put the ball in the air. And we can get a lot of turnovers, man. Cordial Patterson, on the other hand, I mean, he's an amazing player. Like, nobody expected him to be as good as he is. I think they call him a wide receiver, running back / safety right now. Like, so he's like all purpose. So he can do anything. He's leading the team in rushing. I think he's third in the team in receiving. So he's definitely one of those players you got to keep an eye on. But I don't think he can win the game by himself. So with that being said, if we can put some pressure on Matt Ryan and make him turn the ball over, easy win. Because we put up 30 points. If they can't put up 31, it's quiet.
Interesting. So, well, let me ask you this. He talked about Matt Ryan. I did want to ask this question. How does the Atlanta Falcons feel about Matt Ryan, right? He's going to get his 4,000 yards. He's going to get 20-plus touchdowns by the end of the season. But at the same time, we know that, you guys didn't go after a quarterback. You went after Kyle Pitts, who was generational talent, but it was a lot of quarterbacks, obviously, right? In this
Josh Rosen over there, man.
So let me ask you this. How do you guys feel about Matt Ryan? And as it relates to this game, how do you feel that the offense will attack the Buffalo Bills?
Well, I mean, personally, and I know that a lot of so it's so weird because there's such a dichotomy when it comes to fan sentiment at quarterback, because, and as somebody who grew up, I mean, I'm 28 years old. So the beginning of my fandom of real paying attention to football was like late 90s, early 2000s, Michael Vick, man. I bought his shoes. Like, I remember getting 2004. I was at the playoff game against the Rams when they beat them like 45-10. So like, I was as in the bag for Michael Vick as you could possibly be. And I remember when Matt Ryan got drafted, thinking that football was going to be boring now, right? Because we were just going to be playing like Peyton Manning, as if having Peyton Manning as your quarterback was a bad thing. And I think that I remember reading an ESPN kind of review when Matt Ryan was drafted. that said his ceiling was actually Peyton Manning, like a mini version of Peyton Manning, that he had those qualities. His floor and more likely kind of career was Chad Pennington.
Jesus.
And I think he is way, way, way closer to the Peyton Manning edge of the scale.
Right.
And we're seeing a lot of the qualities that I think separate him as a quarterback still carry on into his age 36 season. And that is his ability pre-snap to get everybody aligned where they need to be, adjust versus what the defense is doing. I'm really actually excited for this matchup because obviously McDermott, the former coordinator for the Panthers, he and Matt Ryan have a little bit of a history here.
Absolutely.
So I like Matt Ryan. I remember asking him about Luke Kuechly because that was kind of in my mind, like the true like enemy of Matt Ryan in the division was like a middle linebacker as smart as he was, who went to Boston College and went to the same college as Matt Ryan. Like, so it's kind of same deal here. He brings all of that. And in a lot of ways, he's expanding what I think this offense can do. I think he's raising a lot of the talent around him. His numbers aren't eye-popping. Like, he's past the era of putting up, close to 5,000 passing yards. Like that he's not there anymore. And I don't think this offense is really even meant to be that. But I also look at where Arthur Smith came from. He got Ryan Tannehill. Like, that's not a drafted quarterback that he then coached to excellence and they had playoff runs with. Right. So I don't necessarily think that we, the Falcons are only looking at the draft as a solution, nor that Matt Ryan is kind of out of the running just because he's older. I think they're willing to work with some of his limitations because the strengths that he still brings to this offense are, very apparent. And he is the leader on this offense. I think you guys will see that on Sunday. He's been tough as nails in the face pressure this season. He's still a really good quarterback.
Definitely want to look at that. And I do want to ask Mills, so we can stay on defense, the defense of the Buffalo Bills and the Atlanta Falcons offense, because we do know that they have a rookie in a Kyle Pitts, right? Who will probably have, well, I mean, I guess this game will be a telltale, like 1,000
Poyer
yards.
and Hyde, man. That's
I know.
Match.
That's what I want to ask you, Mills. Do you think that our Pro Bowl snubs, I can't say it enough, Pro Bowl snubs and Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, do you think that they're going to kind of take Kyle Pitts out of the game?
I think it's, sorry, you go ahead, Mills.
I mean, yeah, yes and no. Yes, because they're amazing players and I think they can do the job, but no, because I don't think it's going to fall on them. Our secondary is great as a unit. We have 19 interceptions on the year as a unit, and we have 10 forced fumble recoveries. So that's 30 turnovers we get on the season. So that's big numbers. I don't think the pressure will fall on them as much. I think we'll probably see a lot of Teron Johnson on them a little bit, or just a lot of moving around because they don't really have a true number one receiver over there. So we don't really have to lock up, man to man. We can just, whatever the offense give us, whatever side of the ball he's on, that's where our players and our cornerbacks and safeties ever line up. And I think, like I said with Cordial Patterson, one player can't beat us. So it's going to be on the shoulders of a lot of other players like Zacchaeus and Gage, and I personally don't think they can get the job done. When we get to the over and under, I'll let you know how many yards I think Kyle Pitts to get. But I don't think he'll have that big of a game this week. I think it's going to be a big challenge for Atlanta, and if they want to win a game, they're going to have to run the ball.
Interesting. How do you feel about that, Will?
I completely agree. I mean, I really do. Because if you look at, in my opinion, if the Patriots had maybe started running the ball earlier in that game and really like imposed the run, they might have had a better chance against y'all. I think once they really started hammering that run game in the second quarter, kind of later on, and then in the second half, that's when they were able to really get into the flow of their offense. And we've seen, Buffalo has been susceptible to the run. Atlanta seemed like they were on a great track with the run game for 3 straight weeks there until San Francisco. And since then, back-to-back weeks, they haven't been able to run the ball. And, we mentioned, for as much as we talk about Cordial Patterson, it's almost like he's like the way we think of Deebo Samuel as a wide receiver first and a running back second, and Cordial Patterson is kind of like a running back first and receiver second. He's actually been most effective, I think, as a receiver this season.
Absolutely.
It's just that he's gotten more opportunities as a running back. He's been used in a more traditional running back role, but kind of his biggest plays are still through the air.
Right.
And I wonder almost like the Kyle Pitts comes into question here because again, like he has been taken away. He's got
Absolutely.
great hands. He's got, Matt Ryan starting to show more trust on him, especially on like later downs and over the middle. But he's, for the record breaking pace that he's on, and he is on pace to be the best tight end, I guess, rookie in NFL history. I don't know if he's going to just dominate against you guys because your safeties are so good and they really can, I think, take him away as a rookie. So that all comes down to guys like you mentioned, the run game, Russell Gage, Olamide Zaccheaus, Marvin Hall, these types of players, Lee Smith or Hayden Hurst. If Hayden Hurst is able to clear out and come back for the game, he could be huge in a game like this. He's the type of tight end that you might forget about, but he's still good enough to beat you. So like Atlanta's going to need their players back. Their depth is still the part of their roster that's lacking. And I'm afraid it's the part of this roster that's going to kind of like fall short on Sunday because that's where the good teams have beat them. It's not the stars against the stars. It's the, third receiver against the third defensive back and just that type of matchup. So I think Buffalo is better suited for this matchup for that reason.
I think you talked about as far as the Patriots, maybe if they could have run, a little bit more. I think that the Buffalo Bills we came out like game busters. We didn't have like a huge lead, but having a lead kind of deters, obviously a team from running. And I think what's going to happen this game, and I'm curious to hear what Mills have to say about this, because Atlanta, I think you give up the fifth most points in the league, right? I think around like 27 points, literally. And do you think this is a situation, Mills, where Sean McDermott and Brian Dable is going to come out early, and kind of just give Josh the ball? We're just going to throw it on them, try to get up a good lead and kind of, coast out in the second half. Or is this a Devin Singletary's game? Right? Atlanta is somewhat of a run funnel defense. You can run the ball on them. And do you think that this is a Devin Singletary game? Do you think this is a 20 carry, like give it to him, let him grind it out, and let's see what happens?
I do think it's going to be a 20 carry game for Devin Singletary, but not early in the game. I think we're going to go out there guns blazing. Like I said, we got everybody back. Let Josh get comfortable in the pocket with his front line, being reassembled. Put up a quick 30, put him on the bench, put Trubisky in the game to finish the game.
That was quick.
I know. We'll see. We'll definitely see. So let me ask you, Will, what are you kind of most afraid of, right? Is it a situation where the Atlanta Falcons, they don't want to see Josh Allen like with the, spread out, guns blazing, he's hitting people, we're moving the field, we're hurrying up our offense? Or is the situation, are you comfortable with like, all right, let's try to run the ball on us? Like, you know what I mean? Try to make it a kind of a muddy game, you know what I'm saying? A low-scoring game, so to speak. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I went back and not only did I watch the Bills game from last week, I went back and watched last year, week 5, Titans against the Bills. I think it was a road game for Buffalo. Yeah. Big blowout on Monday Night Football.
Awful game.
And particularly, I wanted to watch Tennessee's defense because while Dean Pease wasn't the defensive coordinator last year, he was the year before that. You have to believe there's some type of overlap. Mike Vrabel being the head coach for both, Pease and Arthur Smith at point. Like, I just felt like there were some nuggets to glean there. Tennessee, it looked like they were playing some really deep zone against Buffalo. It was, we're not going to let you anything over top of us. We're going to make you kind of get these quick underneath passes, rally to the football, make the tackles, go down the field. And when I looked at a lot of the numbers, Buffalo was actually really efficient on offense in that game. Right. What it came down to were some turnovers, on the very first possession of that game, a tip pass turnover, later on in the game, another turnover. It was just the mistakes. But because they had down the field. It just gave Tennessee more opportunities to get those mistakes. So I kind of feel like that's going to be Atlanta's game plan on Sunday is, play a little bit deeper, play that zone defense. Don't let like Cole Beasley, probably 1 billion catches in this game, if I have to guess. I just kind of feel like that's what Atlanta's going to want to have happen. For that reason, I think Buffalo's best bet is heavy dose of Devin Singletary, get that run game going, because when zone defense is when they have to really pay attention to that run game first. Then you get them taking 2-3 steps up to defend the run, and they have to get all the way back to defend their zone. Linebackers hate to be in that position.
Right.
Buffalo has the athletes to take advantage of that. We saw New England play a lot of man coverage. That didn't work. So I think the Falcons, a lot of zone defense. I think Buffalo established the run. Josh Allen, his legs actually scare me in this game more than his arm, because I think Atlanta will get like kind of so deep. Josh Allen will have like all day. Sam Darnold had like a 38-yard run against this team. Josh Allen could go for 75. So like that's in play. But I think a lot of zone from Atlanta and a lot of run from Buffalo.
Zone defense, I think it's going to be interesting to see that, because I'm sure in the playoffs we're definitely going to see that. That's a way to slow down Josh Allen as far as, us moving the ball. We like to do a lot of crossing routes, a lot of curls and things of that nature, but that zone defense does slow us down. And I'm be honest, like in the beginning of the year, he's had some issues with just taking what the defense gives him, right? He's been trying to force the ball, especially against those zone coverages. So hopefully by this point, right, he can, it kind of clicked in his head. And it has. He's gotten definitely better, throughout the season, but it definitely it remains to be seen kind of like, what he's going to do, because he's kind of the straw that stirs the drink. But with that being said, let's get to our over-unders, man. I know that's what the people want to hear. They love to hear our over-unders. They may or may not wager on it. I'm not sure. But that's for them to decide. But before we get to our over-unders, this is kind of what we call our expectation versus reality segment, right? There's an expectation that we have for these players, but in actual reality, let's kind of, deal with the facts. And before we do that, Mills, can you please let the people know who's sponsoring this segment?
This segment is brought to you by Buffalo Pet Supplier. Do you have a pet, looking into getting a pet, or know someone who has a pet? Then there's only one place to send them for everything to make that pet live its best life, and that's Buffalo Pet Supplier. Specializing in fish, small animals, and reptiles, the knowledgeable staff at Buffalo Pet Supply can get you set up or maintain whatever setup you have. Stop down and see the family-owned and operated staff located at 1345 Military Road in Kenmore, New York, or give them a call at 716-874-1951. And let them know that Overdue Bills podcast sent you, and you'll get 10% off your order there as well.
All right, let's get to our over-under segment. All right, and I want to start with Matt Ryan, because we do have a question in the comments, and you can answer this, to Will. Matt Ryan, 210.5, over under 210.5 passing yards. And after you answer that, Will, can you just let the person know in the comments, will Matt Ryan be the quarterback for next year?
210.5. That's a solid over under. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say he's over.
Okay.
I think, I think a couple of big plays. I don't think it's going to be like a heavy volume passing day for Atlanta, but I think that there's a chance that they've been able to get Kyle Pitts or Cordial Patterson, either of those guys, matched up on the boundary. Without Tre'Davious White out there, I feel like the boundary maybe could be a better target for Atlanta rather than middle of field against those safeties. So I wouldn't be shocked if there's a couple of, 42-yard pass plays, and all it takes is one or two of those for Matt to kind of get the over on that.
Right.
So I'll say over, but I'll say slight over.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I think Matt Ryan's going to be the quarterback next year. I think that, what we've seen Arthur Smith say about Matt Ryan is kind of what I expected him to say about Matt Ryan once he got around him, which is that you see a lot of the benefits of what he brings to this organization. He shows up every single day, ready to go, working. Like he's in that Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Russell Wilson, kind of lineage. they're bringing it every single day on and off the field, trying to make their team better, all of that stuff. And, you know, I think they try to build the team up around the quarterback position before kind of focusing on the quarterback position is just the way that the vibe that I get, I think, right now.
Definitely. So Mills, over under 210.5 for Matt Ryan.
Over. I say he get about 250. He's averaging about 235 this season.
That sounds about right for me. Yeah, 235.
And for Atlanta to win, they're gonna have to pass the ball. But the only issue I have is because the Bills struggle against teams that they should beat. Like on paper, teams they should beat on paper, they struggle. And I don't know why. But if the Bills come out and play like we need them to play and give us the 30 points, I mean, in order for Atlanta to win, they got to score 31. So Matt Ryan got to pass the ball. So I'm going over, and I'm going to say about around 240.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you this. Since he's getting 240, Josh Allen's at 255.5, over under.
I'm going to say over. Not by much this time. Probably around 255, 260. I think we get a comfortable lead. And like I said, Devin Singletary get, the bulk of the carries, bulk of the work. So definitely over, though. Interesting.
Will?
Yeah, so before I answer the question, I actually want to ask you guys a question. And that is, what do you guys know about AJ Terrell?
Mills?
I don't know too much. I know that number one corner. He got about 2 interceptions in the league. I mean, on the season. I mean, that's who y'all got to match up against. I'm assuming Stephon Diggs, so he's gonna have a bad day. But I don't know too much about him, to be honest with you.
Well, I will say that he is the number one cornerback statistically in the NFL. He's getting up the fewest yards in his coverage and the lowest, I believe, quarterback rating in throws into his coverage. And I think he leads the league in pass defenses, if I'm not mistaken, or at least he was last week. So, I was just curious because he's not in the Pro Bowl and like a fourth alternate, but he's been, you talk about like, are people down here talking about Calvin Ridley? No, everybody's talking about AJ Terrell.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like he's the new star in town. And I think that you're going to see, like, he has played really good wide receivers this season. So Stephon Diggs, as good a receiver as he is, like, that's not going to be in AJ Terrell's going to blink at. So I just kind of want to put that on the radar of your listeners, because that's not just like, oh, this is Atlanta's best corner. No, this is like one of the best matchups, I think, in the league that you could watch. Wow. Like when they played San Francisco, I was like, Deebo Samuel, AJ Terrell, what's up? When they play Tampa Bay, it's like, Chris Godwin or Mike Evans, AJ Terrell, like, what's up? DJ Moore, AJ Terrell, like, he's playing so well. That being said, Josh Allen definitely has over in this game. Because especially if Fabian Moreau is going to miss this game, that's going to be difficult. I think, if Jalen Hawkins, a safety for the Falcons, misses this game, that's going to be difficult. I look at it a little bit kind of like the San Francisco game, where San Francisco didn't put like a ton of passing yards up or rushing yards up, but they had a good amount of both, and they could have had way more of either if they wanted. And to me, that's kind of Buffalo in this matchup, where they could easily finish with 268 passing yards, 122 rushing yards, and 35 points. And sure, none of the yardage like jumps out at you, but that's a damn good day of football. And I kind of see one of those games for Buffalo, but I think Josh Allen is going to be able to hit a couple of big plays, and that'll get him over the over mark for Buffalo.
Interesting. And that's crazy. I'm glad you mentioned AJ Terrell, because I was going to ask, like, generally at the end of the show, I asked our guests, can you give me one player that, kind of we don't know about, right? He's not talked about in the national media, very heavily, but, he's a very, very important person to the team. And I guess that would be an AJ Terrell for you.
No, I've got another one.
Oh, you got another one. You got another one. Okay,
I got another one.
Save it.
All right.
For the end. We're almost there. We're almost there. Save it so you can give it to the people. So I like AJ Terrell. So let me ask you this, Mills. Let me give you a couple over-unders, and then we're going to get to that, because I'm very highly anticipating that player. Over under 50 yards from Devin Singletary. I think this is probably one of his highest totals. 50 rushing yards, right? I mean, for us, that's a lot, coming for our running back, not necessarily just rushing, period. So how do you feel about that?
Oh man, that's tough. That's tough because he really hasn't cracked 50. He might have got it twice this whole season. Ooh. I'm gonna say over.
Okay.
Around 55 to 60. I think the team is realizing that, he's a valuable player. He can play, amazing role, to set up the play action for Josh. He's averaging about 4.4 yards a carry. So I think that the Bills are trying to lean a little bit more on him. As you can see, he's growing each and every game. He's getting more carries and more trust from the coaching staff. So I'm going to go over around 50 yards, around 55, 60 with 2 touchdowns.
Oh, Jesus. Well, how do you feel? Do you think it's going to be like a good running day for the Buffalo Bills or no?
Yeah, what a kicker there at the end.
I know,
just dropping the 2 touchdowns. Just
Jesus.
Okay, all right. No, I mean, I think if we're expecting, right, Matt Ryan to maybe be in the over because the Falcons are going to be playing catch up and throwing the ball, then the Bills are going to be in a position to run the football.
Right.
And I think that it benefits them to establish the run early. And I think that they're talented enough to put themselves in a position where the run then salts the game away. So yeah, Devin Singletary, the Falcons, I think still only one 100-yard rusher. That was Jeff Wilson against San Francisco this season, but they do tend to give up some chunk plays on the ground from time to time. And I think Devin Singletary, especially in a game like when it's supposed to be snowy and windy, like I think he's going to have plenty of opportunities.
Right. I do think like this is the telltale of where the game is going to go. If he is over 50 yards, then, this probably will be like I want to say a blowout, but like a Bills dominant game, right? If Devin Singletary is getting over 50 yards, which probably means he's getting, 14, if he gets up to, 12, 14 carries, then that's probably a dominant Bills game because we're running the ball to kind of just run the clock out of the game. But it remains to be seen. So let me ask this. Since you talked about A.J. Terrell, I think this is interesting. Stephon Diggs over or under 75.5 receiving yards. How do you feel about that, Will?
Oh man, I'm gonna say under. And I teased like a big Cole Beasley game. I could see that happening. Usually, like when you look at the Falcons kind of target shares, a lot of linebackers. So whoever the linebackers are matched up on, the tight ends, the running backs, they're getting a lot of targets. And then whoever kind of Fabian Moreau has been matched up on. Now, the thing with A.J. Terrell is that he just plays the left side of Atlanta's defense. Okay. So he locks down one half. So Buffalo can do a lot. And I know that Buffalo likes to do a lot on offense. And they can move Stephon Diggs around if they want to get him away from A.J. Terrell. Teams have done that. That being said, I think that kind of, it tips the hand of the offense a little bit if teams do that like all the time.
Right.
I would look at them to maybe use Stephon Diggs as kind of like a decoy to take A.J. Terrell away from this game.
Wow. And
just try to beat them with other people, especially if Fabian Moreau is out as their second corner. The Bills should be able to kind of win those second, third, fourth matchups.
Interesting. Mills, over or under 75.5?
I got under as well. Like you said, we're probably anticipating Atlanta to play a lot of zone. And I think Josh pretty locks in on Stephon Diggs when it's man-to-man coverage. I think playing zone makes him have to go through his progressions and, scan the field and find the open player. So it's probably going to be a lot of underneath passes. Like you said, we run across the middle a lot. So a lot of the across the middle routes don't really be Stephon Diggs as much. So I'm going to say under.
Interesting. All right, so let's go prediction time, right? This is what the people have been waiting for. They want to hear, what's our prediction on the game. So I'm going to allow our guest to go first. Let's get your prediction, your score prediction, and obviously who will win.
I'm going to say 31-17 Bills.
Okay. I like that score.
I think the Falcons have played the bad opponents close, and the good opponents they've lost by double digits pretty much every single time. So I think that they are moving in the right direction. I think they'll be able to make this. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 17-17 going into halftime. And then we've seen kind of the better teams against Atlanta be able to pull away in the second half and kind of not make it so close. So 34-17, 31-17.
Right.
There you go. Yep.
All right.
31-17.
Millie, what's your prediction?
I'm kind of around that same ballpark. I got Buffalo 34, Atlanta 13.
Okay.
I think Cordial Patterson is going to have a bad game. I saw him tweet Stephon Diggs a little earlier, looking for some chicken wings to his hotel room. I think Stephon Diggs is going to find a way to give him a bad batch. I think he's going to have a mediocre game this week.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I think I have I think it's gonna be 28 Bills to 12 Atlanta. I think they're gonna miss an extra point. It's gonna be some weather. It's gonna be cold.
Young Cole gonna miss an extra point.
Yeah.
Young Way.
Young Cole. They call him Young Cole around here.
Only Magic City do they?
That's funny. That's really, really funny. But yes, 28 to 12. I do think the Bills are going to win, but I do agree with Will. I think it's going to be close in the first half, at least the first quarter for sure. I think it's going to be close. I think Atlanta is going to move the ball a little bit in the beginning of the game, and then when everything kind of settles, the Bills will kind of extend the lead. But I think, so those of you out there in the first half, you know what I mean, you may be a little alarmed to see, because Atlanta still has a decent offense, right? Let's just be clear. He still has a decent offense. But with that being said, let me ask you this, Will, so I don't want to keep up too much of your time. I did want to ask you the one player at the Buffalo Bills we may not know, we may not have heard of him. He's not very loud in the national media, but he's a very great player.
Yeah, I mean, honorable mention, I guess, offensively to Russell Gage.
Okay.
But I feel like people, if they watch that San Francisco Falcons game, like he was the number one receiver in that game, huge touchdown pass. Like he's, I think, a little bit more of a known commodity. But Foye Oluokun, who is a former 6th round draft pick out of Yale. He played safety at Yale. The Falcons converted him to linebacker. And due to an injury to Deion Jones his rookie year, he got a lot of playing time next to Devondre Campbell, kind of flashed that position. And ever since then, he's been slowly growing as a player. But obviously, as a Yale grad, like an extremely smart, intelligent football player, Dean Pease has raved about him.
Wow.
And just the way that he fits into his scheme, what he can do with him, how he understands how everybody's supposed to work together. He was named NFC Defensive Player of the Week last week because he secured the game-winning interception against the Lions. And I think he had like 13 tackles in that game. He's currently 2nd in the NFL in tackles behind Bobby Wagner. And he's incredible in coverage. So Dawson Knox versus Foye Oluokun, gonna be a great matchup.
I love it.
So watch him. Deion Jones may be the linebacker that like most non-Falcons fans know for the Falcons. Foye Oluokun has played better, frankly, than Deion Jones this year, and kind of seems like the star on the rise at the second level of the defense.
Interesting. I love that. I love hearing those names. I'm not necessarily familiar with this player, but I'm definitely Sunday will be looking out for him. Number what?
54.
Number 54. I don't know what happened to Mills. It just seems like, I don't know, maybe it's connectivity issues.
He's a big
everywhere.
Deion Jones fan.
Right. So let me say this. Let me give a player, from our side. And I'll keep it on brand. I'll probably say, let's see. I'll go Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is coming back, and I know our guy.
Yeah, your
Matt,
receiver.
Yeah, like Matt on our show, he always talks about him. But I think that he's having a breakout year towards the end of the season, right? He didn't get a lot of playing time in the beginning. I think he's trying to find his way, and I know Sunday he will score. Right, he's money in the red zone, and I'm very interested because he does line up on the left side a lot. You say AJ Terrell's over there. I want to see the matchup. If that's it, I want to see the matchup to see if he can, even if it's in the red zone, if he can get free. You know what I mean, down there. But that's just definitely something to see. I can't wait to see that. But with that being,
what's his MO, if you don't mind me asking?
Gabe Davis,
yeah, tall, physical, small, quick. Like
he has a tall stature and he's physical. The thing is, he uses his body well, right? That's one thing. He uses his body well. Like he could get up to the top of the defense and then kind of shade the defender off.
Like a Greg Jennings.
Yeah, you can say Greg Jennings. I like to liken him to a reference that we can all understand. Probably a mini Mike Evans. Not obviously those measurables, but he kind of plays that way. He's not the best route runner.
Yeah.
But when he gets to that top of the route, man, he's a big target, man. He's a big target.
Yeah.
He gets his hands up, he gets it in there. So
he'll find the ball, he'll bring it in.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a type of receiver like Josh Allen, he likes those players, right? He's a big target. Once he sees him, he's gonna throw it, man. He's gonna
That's great for AJ Terrell too, though. It's like he's, that was watching him go against Mike Evans, Michael Thomas last year was incredible. Seeing him in person, just the way he'd break on those guys, try to punch the ball, like he'll play the ball. That's why I didn't have so many interceptions, is he plays the ball so much. But yeah, no, great. Gabriel Davis. All right, watch out for him.
I can't wait to see it, man. I can't wait to see it. So, Will, can you just let the people know again? Let the people know where they can find you and all of those amazing things.
Yeah. So you can follow me on Twitter at Will McFadden. Got in there early. Got the good Twitter handle. And you can read what I write at thefalcoholic.com. And you can hear the words that I speak out loud with former Falcons fullback Ovi Mahaley on the Believe in Falcons podcast, wherever you get your podcast sold. So
thank you. Shout out to Will, man. We definitely appreciate you. We do apologize for the technical difficulties. Our guy Mills, he's saying his stuff is freezing where he's at right now. So it's unfortunate, but we thank him for being on the show. And just to let the people know, OverdueBillsPod.com, please go there. You can get all Overdue Bills content, all Overdue Bills merch, and our article. Shout out to our editor-in-chief, Michael Daniels. And also, please enter the contest. Just go on our Facebook, our Instagram, or our Twitter. But you only can enter the contest on Facebook and Instagram. Please enter the contest. Let us know the total yards. Tag, like, and share. Those amazing things. Y'all know the contest. We're giving away a $30 gift certificate, from our trusty presenting sponsor, Buffalo Wing Kings. Everybody loves wings. I know you want that gift certificate. And so please enter the contest so you can have a chance to win that. And I believe that that's all we have for you. So y'all know how we do it. We end every show. Hopefully we'll hear a lot of this on Sunday. Hey.